Okay, well, I think we'll go ahead and start. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jenny Stith, and I'm so honored to serve as Executive Director of WINGS and to welcome all of you to our kickoff event for this year's Childhood Sexual Abuse Survivor Awareness Month. You'll hear us refer to that as CSA-SAM. And to our Race for Healing. It's the 5th year for CSA-SAM and the 6th year for our Race for Healing, and our first virtual try at this. So really appreciate you all tuning in. It's just wonderful to feel connected to everyone during this time. And we're so honored and grateful that you're choosing to give this issue your most precious asset, which is your valuable time. That's the theme of this year's Race for Healing. It's about time. And we'll be talking all about that during our time together today. I want to acknowledge that this is not your average conversation. Many of you know that. So choosing to be part of this discussion is a courageous choice. And we truly appreciate your choice to stand with CSA survivors and with all of us today. And to help decide if you want to stand with CSA survivors all month long and hopefully beyond that. We want to thank some folks right off the bat. We want to thank our sponsor Insperity for sponsoring the race. We have several community partners, including the Colorado Coalition Against Sexual Assault, or CSA-SAM, Violence Free Colorado, Illuminate Colorado, Maria Drost, Eating Recovery Center, SNAP, and many others who we partner with throughout the year to do our services. I also want to thank our incredible team at WINGS. I have a few of them on the call who'll be introducing themselves in a moment, but also just everyone that's working so hard to pull these offerings together for this special month, but also everything that the team does every day to support survivors. It's a joy and a privilege to work with all of you, and just really appreciate what you give to this mission. Also want to thank our board and advisory council, some of whom are on the call. These are volunteers who work tirelessly to support this mission as well, and who stand with survivors every day. And just, we're so fortunate to have everything that you offer to our mission. So thank all of you. The good thing about being on Zoom is I can look at some notes here, but if I'm looking down, that's what I'm doing. And so now I'd like to invite my team members to introduce themselves.
Great, thank you, Jenny. My name is Dustan DiIorio. I'm the Associate Director of Programs and Survivor Services here at WINGS, and very excited to be here with all of you today.
And my name is Melissa Haenchen, and I'm WINGS' Manager of Outreach and Community Engagement, and also so excited to be here with you today.
Thank you both. And just so everyone does know, we are recording this session so that it can be viewed throughout the month, because folks can join the Race for Healing even after today. And because of this, we want to be mindful of privacy. And so we're choosing to offer this in webinar mode. So if you would like to submit a question, because we do welcome your feedback, you'll want to do that through the Q&A button on the bottom of your screen, kind of towards the right. And we'll be watching that line and make sure that we can answer your questions throughout the call. So we do want to make good use of your time today. So we want to just let you know what to expect for our time together. To start, I'm going to provide an overview on who WINGS is, how we support adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse and those who support them, what we're doing to raise awareness about this issue, and why we've structured the Race for Healing the ways that we have this year.
Great, and at WINGS, we really do feel it's important to be intentional in the way that we structure our lives and the goals that we have. So I'll be walking us through how we can do that for ourselves in your life, but also as you engage in this month.
And I'll be coming in to walk you through the race platform itself, help you see how you can use this technology to track your participation throughout the month, and a little bit of an overview about the activities you have available to them, in addition to what Jenny shares.
And after each of our sections, we'll pause for you to enter questions into the Q&A, but we'll save time at the end to answer all of those. You can also type throughout, but we'll also remind you at the end of those sections. So as we get started, we want to draw your attention to a few important points. We are designing this year's Race for Healing to focus on the holistic healing aspects of this issue and the mind, body, spirit connection. And this may be something you're very familiar with, but if not, if it's something new, we want to start off with an activity in a few moments that Dustan is going to lead us through to help practice being in touch with that within yourself. Before we do that, we also want to just acknowledge this very strange time and difficult time that we're all in. 6 months or more into physical distancing from COVID and all the implications that come along with that. We know that it's a really just difficult time for everyone in many different ways. We also know that, isolation for adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse is challenging all the time, but during a time like this, it can be extra difficult. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to think of ideas for promoting connection and community through our Race for Healing this month. We also want to acknowledge that it's a really powerful and important moment in our country in the realm of racial justice. We know that there are just horrific things happening to Black lives in this country, and we want to make it clear that we stand with survivors of color in the Black, Indigenous, and people of color or BIPOC community. Particularly if you are a survivor of color, we know this may be an extra stressful time for you. And we just want you to know that we see you and that we're with you. And we do want to acknowledge, or at least I want to acknowledge as a white ally, that I understand that I don't understand so much about your experience. And we've talked a lot at Wings, and we'll be talking more about how we can really be accountable to the ways that all of us have internalized racism and white supremacy in our organization without intention, without meaning to, but as part of the culture that we've inherited in this country. And so we really want to say the names of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Elijah McClain and Jacob Blake, because we want you to know that these lives matter. And we want to do all we can as an organization to build the compassion and the action that we need to really be there for all survivors, and to partner with leaders in the BIPOC community to learn and share and serve and grow together. And so there's some specific things that I want to share that we're doing in that realm. We've launched a diversity, equity, inclusion committee. We've got, I think our chairs of that committee are on the call. We're planning trainings and ongoing efforts for our board, our staff, our support group facilitators. And this work will be ongoing. We'll be shaping policies. We'll be impacting programming. This is not a box that we want to check. This is a transformation that we want to go through. And we're excited about this. We're humble about this. I know we'll make mistakes in this, and we're incredibly committed to this as a practice. So wanted to share that with you all right up front, because this is such an important time in our country. And healing, although we're talking specifically about childhood sexual abuse, it's connected to so many other issues, and this is one of them. And so we're extremely grateful to CSA, the Colorado Coalition Against Sexual Assault, and Illuminate Colorado for partnering with us on a training that we've added to our offerings throughout the month, so that we can invite our wider Wings community to start learning with us. And we've been wanting to pull this together, and we got it set for the 22nd. So we'll talk more about that, but really encourage everyone to join us for that presentation. It's actually one that, just like this kickoff event, you don't have to register for the race for if you don't want to, but we hope you will, because we encourage you to account all those minutes towards the learning that we can all be doing to support healing in ourselves and the world. And we have some more resources on our list of resources on anti-racism, and we really encourage everyone to review those and explore those and really take that work in. We also want to support survivor-led and BIPOC-led movements that connect with ours. And so there happens to be a call right after this one led by Survivors Agenda, and it's focused on the needs of adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse. So if you haven't heard of that, we want to make sure to put that link in the chat box so that you all can sign up. And if it's too long of a day and you don't feel that you can tune into that, don't worry, we are planning to participate, and we will be listening and bring back anything that is relevant to our work and that you all might be interested in as well. All of this work is mind, body, spirit work. That's why we're talking about those themes today. And again, it must be transformational, it must be ongoing and intersectional. And to state the obvious, it will just take time. And fortunately, that's what we're trying to build a strategy around, is time. And again, we're just really committed to that. As I was reflecting on this too, I wanted to say that another reason these issues are so connected, when a child is used as a sexual object, there is a disconnection from self and a disconnection from feelings and emotions. And it can make survivors feel separate. And we're really not separate. We are connected. We're part of the same human family. And we just really want to name that and hold space for that and practice that. And so as we head into the rest of the call, we wanted to have that mindfulness moment that I mentioned, and we want to invite you into that connected awareness so that we can really hold these ideas and these themes as we move into the rest of the call and the rest of the month. So Dustin, thank you for what you've prepared.
Thank you, Jenny. I'd like to invite all of you to take a moment to reflect with us and center in this moment of connectedness. So if you could get yourself into a comfortable position. Let's begin by taking a moment to allow our bodies to settle into a comfortable position. You may close your eyes or keep them slightly open, allowing the spine to lift and the shoulders to soften. Today we will ground in our humility and our connection to each other. Taking a nice full breath in and long breath out. Begin by bringing your attention into your body. Notice your tense exterior and how your body protects you from harm. Take another full breath. Notice where your body meets the chair or the floor, how your body connects you to the world. Take a few more full breaths. With every inhale, fill your body with the energy and the strength to act. And with every exhale, open your heart more to the world around you. Inhale, feel your strength. Exhale, and open your heart. Again, we'll inhale, feeling our strength. And exhale, feeling our heart open. Let us center in this strength and openness as we connect today, and allow us to feel safety and freedom in each other's. Keep this reflection in your mind and in your heart as you begin to bring your awareness back to the group. Keep breathing, and when you feel ready, open your eyes, and we will continue with this great off event. Thank you, everyone.
It's muted. So that was beautiful, Dustin. Thank you so much for leading us through that activity. And I'm actually here at the Wings office. I have not been here for probably 6 months. It's really great to be back. And I just want to reflect on the fact that Wings has been in Colorado for 38 years now. And we just want to acknowledge the brave survivors and those who supported them in starting this organization, and everyone who has been part of carrying the torch and working to build capacity to serve survivors and their loved ones and to raise more awareness and more action for this mission. We also just want to thank and recognize all the healing professionals that may be on this call, that may be participating this month, and that dedicate their time and attention to healing the needs of survivors and those who support them. So in terms of who we are as Wings, our mission is to break the cycle and heal the wounds of childhood sexual abuse by providing education, advocacy, and support to adult survivors, their loved ones, providers, and the community. And that's a mouthful, and it is specific to what we try to do here every day. Our vision is that everyone will have access to the resources that they need to speak about, heal from, and thrive beyond childhood sexual abuse trauma. So our intention in championing CSA-SAM and our month-long Race for Healing this year is to provide a series of learning and healing opportunities that will help everyone, no matter how you identify, to fit into this effort and to live this vision. Because we do believe that the more time we give to this issue, the more time CSA survivors regain in their lives in productive ways and building healthy lives, families, workplaces, and communities. We've been messaging that the average survivor spends 34 years dealing with this issue. And we had someone call and ask us where we got that number, which is a great question. And I do want to address that right off the bat. So Child USA is the source that, and others, that have reported the average survivor comes forward at about age 52. And the average survivor, or I'm sorry, the average child is abused at age 9, and there's a range there. But from the age of 18, when they become an adult, to 52, that's 34 years. And from age 9 to 52 is actually 43. So, and this is just the point at which they might come forward. So that number is probably higher. And we know this is different for many folks. We have some survivors that are coming forward in their 20s, some in their 60s or 70s. There's no right time, and it's never too late. Those are points that I want to emphasize. But the reason we put that number out is that I think most people in mainstream culture just don't understand this issue being an adult issue, and that even if 3 or 4 or 5 decades have passed since the time that someone was sexually abused, that they still may need and deserve a process to heal. So we're trying to educate folks on that reality. So I hope that makes sense. If that's still not clear, please let us know through the Q&A line. But I just want to check myself, yes. Just some foundational setting before we officially talk about the Awareness Month. Probably a lot of folks on the call know a lot about this issue, but we are inviting new people into the conversation. And so it's possible that folks don't know a lot about childhood sexual abuse. So I just want to make sure that we have enough understanding to be talking about this in a way that we can all understand. And so our definition of childhood sexual abuse is quite broad, but also specific, in that it's really anything that violates a child's physical or emotional sense of safety by activity or behavior or abuse that's done in a sexual way. And so that can include what would be described as assault or rape. And that's a really hard reality, that those are experiences that happen to children. But it does not have to involve that to be considered childhood sexual abuse. It can involve anything that makes a child feel uncomfortable. Inappropriate touching, molestation are some words that folks might identify with. And it doesn't matter the difference in age between the child or adult, or the relationship between the child or adult, for it to be childhood sexual abuse. So want to make that clear, and also want to say, however someone thinks about their experience or talks about their experience is what we prioritize. These are just words and phrases to consider. And it's important to just think about what is true for you and your experience. I just want to highlight, in terms of moments in the media or moments in life and culture that this issue has been talked about, just in the last 20 or 30 years, there have been instances, of course, with Catholic priests abusing children, with Boy Scout leaders, with coaches like Jerry Sandusky at Penn State, with physicians like Larry Nassar and the US women's gymnastics team. Those are all types of childhood sexual abuse. And here at Wings, we were founded on intrafamilial abuse, and the word is incest, which is an ugly word, but it's a huge part of the dynamic that occurs around childhood sexual abuse. 90% of the time, a child is abused by someone they know, trust, and love. 30 to 60% of the time by someone to whom they are related. So these are just some of the hard realities of childhood sexual abuse. And if you are a survivor on the call, if any of these have been your experience, we absolutely want you to know that you are not alone, that it wasn't your fault, and that you deserve a process to heal, and that you matter and your needs matter. And again, it's never too late, and healing is possible. It really is. And having the right support available to you makes all the difference in that journey. Because this issue has not been accepted in culture, it has been too hard for survivors to access the services that they need. The issue's been unspeakable, it's been invisible, and therefore underaddressed. So we believe it's high time we change that reality. And that is why we created Childhood Sexual Abuse Survivor Awareness Month, or CSA-SAM, 5 years ago, and the Race for Healing 6 years ago here in Colorado. It's always been our hope that these efforts would grow to reach more and more individuals. And so, you know, the interesting thing about 2020 and this virtual world that we're in is that we really do invite everyone who wants to help us celebrate this month to do so. Not that we want to celebrate that this is happening, but that we want the needs of adult survivors to be seen and to be heard, and to focus on the aspects that are the good news with this issue, and that healing is possible and resilience is possible. And the more we can open up access for survivors to engage in those processes, the better. And those efforts should take our greatest work, I believe. So speaking of that, I have the privilege of introducing a special guest today who is incredible for many reasons. He serves as director of Denver Department of Human Services. He's also the deputy mayor of Denver. He's also an incredible human being and a wonderful champion of our issue and on our advisory council. Don Morris, thank you for joining us and reading our proclamation.
It is a pleasure, Jenny. Let me as I pull up the proclamation, let me a point of personal privilege, just say how lucky we are that you're leading this organization and that you chose to take on this. I think you're just raising this issue to a whole nother level and helping so many people. So I just really wanted folks to know that you're amazing, and we really are lucky to have you. So I also wanted to say your comments about the dynamic of the people of color issue in the community as a person of color really were touching, and I really appreciate you embracing that and expressing your thoughts. That was great. So, but with that, thank you so much for letting me join, and I will be joining the Race for Healing this month. It'll be fun. I want to read a proclamation that the governor executed, and I hope you listen to this because I think it's just great. So I'll start out with a few whereases. Whereas child sexual abuse creates a massive public health problem by affecting 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 4 boys. And whereas most victims do not report their abuse in childhood and become adults who still need and deserve specialized services designed to help them heal. And whereas accessing these services is critical to the health, well-being, relationship capacity, productivity, and ability to fully thrive in all areas of adult survivors' lives. And whereas accountability for appropriately supporting survivors must be a shared goal by families, organizations, workplaces, and communities everywhere, and that our state is healthier and stronger when we work collaboratively towards meeting this goal. Whereas Colorado celebrates and supports the many dedicated people and organizations working together to connect all survivors and their loved ones with the resources they need to speak out, heal from, and thrive beyond childhood sexual abuse, trauma, or its individual and collective impact on public health. And whereas Colorado proudly stands with survivors and their loved ones on their courageous paths of healing toward empowerment of their fullest, healthiest lives, therefore I, Jared Polis, Governor of the state of Colorado, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2020 as Childhood Sexual Abuse Survivor Awareness Month, given under my hand and executive seal of the state of Colorado this first day of September 2020. So congratulations, Jenny, and everyone. Make this the most impactful month that you've had up to this point, and let's just keep going.
Thank you, Don, so much. And I certainly appreciate your kind words about me. However, really, I'm just so honored to serve this mission, and it's such a community effort, and you've been a part of that. And so thanks for all you do for survivors and for this community and for Colorado and for hopefully survivors in other places as we're able to move this forward. So truly appreciate you being part of today's events and the Race for Healing. Quick notes, because we do want to save some time for questions at the end, but we've gotten a couple that I do want to address because we're still early in the call. We definitely want to make sure that we are inclusive in many ways, and at Wings we do acknowledge that this is an everyone issue. This affects women and men and people of all gender identities, and we know that sexual violence has a huge root in male violence towards women. And so we maybe didn't say up front that this would be an all gendered event, and we apologize for that. And we definitely want to emphasize that point in terms of helping everyone see how so many different people are impacted by this issue, because it does affect 1 in 4 women, 1 in 6 men, 1 in 5 people of all gender identities. And so I appreciate you sharing that with us, and I'm sorry if that was not clear up front. But we do want to acknowledge male survivors and survivors from the LGBTQIA+ community, as well as female survivors. This really is an everyone issue. So there's that component. And then I just want to talk about, in addition to the Awareness Month, that's one effort that we've done just to try to raise the awareness around adult survivors' needs. We also wrote a white paper in 2016. We said we think that there are gaps in services in some of the traditional places that folks are getting support for related issues, and we felt like there was more that could be done for adult survivors specifically. So we released the white paper, and we were able to do some grassroots advocating. And between 2016 and 2018, we began something called the One Voice Project. And that has been a community needs assessment through the Colorado School of Public Health, where we've designed an assessment asking survivors about what is it like for them when they're trying to access services to heal. And one of the questions on the chat line is, what does healing mean? It's a big question, and I'm not sure I can even fully answer it today. I feel like, you know, from my seat, I think this issue has had such little broad attention that I don't know we fully explored what healing could be for survivors. And so I think when we're talking about it broadly, we're saying for a long time, this trauma has been, again, not addressed, and survivors haven't been able to speak about it, and their access to services has been limited. And so a basic sense of healing from that trauma is needed. And so just to name, I'm sure there are many more components of that to get into. And I think we're just trying to open up a conversation so that folks can really just acknowledge that adults who've been sexually abused as children deserve a process to heal as adults, that this issue doesn't go away just because someone turns 18. And so again, I hope that's helpful. And I know it's not enough. There's so much more to unpack there. And man, we just have so much work to do. So, but through the first stages of the One Voice Project, what we heard loudly from survivors is that there were many gaps that they were experiencing, or that they are experiencing here in Colorado. We had 67 survivors who participated, and definitely the participants skewed towards female and towards Caucasian individuals. We had some males who participated. I think we had 1 transgendered individual and some racial diversity, but certainly not enough. So we have additional phases planned, fortunately, for survivors within the Latinx community and other survivors of color. And so those are coming, and we know we have a lot of work to do to partner and really provide those in meaningful ways. And there are many more experiences of survivors who we also need to hear their voice. This is just a starting point to try to get some public health data behind this issue. And so the key themes that came forward were a huge existence of stigma for this specific issue, and a huge lack of awareness, again, about the unique needs of adults who've been sexually abused as children, and a real desire to see more information and more attention given to this issue. There was a huge problem with providers being trained in the needs of adult survivors. The average number of counselors that adult survivors reported trying before they found someone who was maybe helpful was 4. And when we did listening sessions around Colorado with that information, we heard, and we asked survivors and providers alike, does this data resonate with you? We heard numbers that were a lot higher than that, sometimes 10, one instance 20. So huge problem in terms of being met with an informed provider who can help a survivor navigate their needs. High cost of services, either survivors being underinsured or uninsured, and providers taking insurance, or those that did, having 6 sessions. And then, of course, that not being enough for the ongoing healing needs of childhood sexual abuse, which is a developmental trauma and often requires, long-term healing from that. So huge need there. And then a lack of survivor education and outreach resources for survivors directly and their loved ones. And survivors particularly voiced wanting more chances to come together, being around others who are going through the same thing, being part of a network of survivors that, again, kind of get this issue. And so part of why we're offering the Race for Healing this year in this way is we just felt like there's so much more to be done, but what can we do now under these conditions to provide some of that connection and community and some of that awareness raising that the issue needs. So through that initial data set, which again, there's more to come on that, we were able to secure some initial funding to start to try to build out some resources to address those gaps through the Colorado Office of the Attorney General, through former Attorney General Cynthia Kaufman, who we're very grateful to, and current Attorney General Phil Weiser. We've been able to move that work forward, and really want to thank members of our state task force. We've created that to bring to the table providers who are involved in this work, who have boots on the ground, who are engaging in different ways. We've got sexual assault centers, some folks from the domestic violence and the relationship violence space, substance use and abuse. We have some folks from the DA's office. I'm trying to think of who else, but some organizations that are focused on adult survivors' needs, like SNAP and Finding Our Voices in Colorado Springs and Talking Trees in Colorado Springs. So we're trying to co-create a concept around a coordinated community response. This has been done for child victims of childhood sexual abuse and adult survivors of adult sexual assault. And it seems as though the needs of adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse haven't been responded to in similar ways. So we're really aware, and there's some wonderful work happening at the national level around, are any of these systems working in the ways that they should for survivors, and what additional barriers are there for a lot of folks, including survivors of color. So just to name, we agree that those are really important issues to look at. And I think what we're trying to do is create a starting point to bring adult survivors into the landscape at all, because they haven't been in these systems, and so they've sort of been left out of these systems. And we're trying to figure out, what does meaningful change look like, and what do meaningful services look like for this population. So we also want to consider some online resources, because in-person services and being able to actually create that blueprint and pilot it and try to get those services statewide with fidelity so that we could offer that in other places if they're interested is going to take time, and we don't want survivors to have to wait. So we are hoping to and planning to create more online resourcing for survivors and loved ones so that survivors can have more support virtually. We do receive requests from survivors in other states and other countries, and we do our best to find referrals for them or suggest other resources for them. You can find a lot of referral information on our website. And we think that's a great opportunity. Our support groups, which I haven't really talked much about, but is our primary program at Wings, therapist facilitated support group for survivors. And those are being offered virtually because of COVID, and currently still in Colorado because of some requirements and things that we've got to sort through. But certainly we feel like there's a lot of potential in how we could use technology to remove some barriers in terms of geography. And we certainly know that there are many other barriers that also go along with this in terms of lack of housing, in terms of incarceration of survivors, in terms of survivors in the immigrant and refugee population. I mean, there's so many more experiences of this that we need to consider and solve problems around. And we are trying to build the capacity to be able to do that and to partner with others and figure out how do we make meaningful, lasting change and start where we are. So that's a snapshot at some of the things that we're working on and some things that are coming. And really for us then September as CSA-SAM is an annual way that we can just raise awareness about this cause and invite others into it. Because really, I believe that personally speaking, and what I see when I look out across the landscape is, I just think because this issue has been unspeakable and invisible, it's been a hard one for us to hold. It's been really hard for us as individuals to consciously hold this, much less bring it into the world. And so we feel like we can try to make that easier, and we want to invite people into that in ways that might be helpful. So 6 years ago, we had some great volunteers who started the Race for Healing, and it was really emulated after Coleman's Race for the Cure, that when that issue was invisible and unspeakable, folks said, let's bring an effort together, and naming it, say what we're aiming for, and let's make it clear that we need to work with a sense of urgency towards a day that brings some support. So that was our intention in the Race for Healing. We weren't aware of any 5K that was for adult survivors specifically. And so I believe Susie may be on the call. We had a wonderful volunteer, Susie, who co-chaired that first Race for Healing. And it's been a really meaningful special event for us here in Colorado for the last 5 years leading up to this one. And really has helped, I think, folks be there with each other and for each other, and, step out of the shadows if they want to, and, be part of healing in ways that might be meaningful to them. So because we couldn't do that because of COVID this year, we thought, well, what could we do to promote some resilience building activities and some ways for people to, again, engage in learning about this issue, engage in practices that support healing. And again, back to the question about what is healing, it's a great question, because there's so many different things that actually are. And we've just brought together some that might be interesting to try. And so we definitely want to name that if others have, based on your culture, your beliefs, your traditions, there may be so many other things that could be added. And there is a chat feature on our Race platform where if folks want to add ideas or things that you enjoy, we welcome that. So I just wanted to take a moment to share my screen with you, and just very quickly, in fact, I may not even go over each one because I may be short on time, but I want you to know where you can find these. So under our event tab, the Race for Healing, this lists all the activities that we've been able to pull together so far. Melissa will go over this a bit more in a moment, but we want to start the month off with some offerings around establishing rest, self-care, and resiliency practices in case that's something that is new to you and you've never done that. We have that offering tomorrow night. And our thought was like, let's go ahead and make that available right at the beginning of the month. And it'll also be available after the fact. You can access it as many times as you need to throughout the month. We have Alexi Neal will be offering a 3-part series on embodiment, 30 minutes at a time, which again, you can sign up for on the date this is listed, or you can access it after the fact if you register for the Race for Healing. And again, you all can read this information. We have a session on It's About Nutrition. There's a lot for survivors to gain from really knowing more about this topic. So definitely want to invite you into Stephanie Small's presentation. And then again, what is healing at that basic level like for an adult survivor? How does CSA trauma affect the mind-body-spirit connection? What does healing look like in adulthood? What is, on the other side in terms of post-traumatic growth? This will be talking about how childhood sexual abuse, we hear a lot the term post-traumatic stress disorder, but really trauma is the normal reaction to some abnormal abusive circumstances. So we think of it more as an injury. So what does post-traumatic healing look like, and what does post-traumatic growth look like if we engage in this? Why would we do this hard work? Let's talk about the benefits of healing and how it's specific to this trauma. And then It's About Movement is a reminder that if you want to do a 5K or more, you're invited to do that. You don't have to do it on the 19th. We do apologize deeply. I know that's Rosh Hashanah. So particularly if you would prefer to do another day or many days, some folks have a strong yoga practice, or maybe you're a runner or a jogger. All of this is about engaging these sessions, tracking your time if you'd like, and logging that time in our system so that we have a collective amount of time dedicated to healing. And so here in Colorado, we have things that are kind of Colorado specific, like hiking and paddleboarding, but there may be things, if you're tuning in from outside of Colorado, that are more fitting to where you are and or what you enjoy doing, like dancing or any number of things. If it's movement, we encourage it. And we will be having a Facebook Live event on that day to share what you're doing. If you want to be part of a movement, like if you want to feel connected to folks engaging in that movement activity that morning, then feel free to do that. On September 22nd is that day where we want to focus on It's About Health Equity and exploring the roots of power and intersections of oppression affecting CSA survivors. This is in partnership with CSA and Illuminate Colorado. And that's where we want to really dive more into those themes of we believe that all adult survivors are at a health equity disadvantage because there's such a gap in health literacy about this issue. We don't know what we don't know. So we're all benefiting, we would all benefit from more information and more access to services. And it's certainly true that many, many survivors face intersectional oppression that create much harder access challenges to services. So this is not going to be in depth. It's going to be 90 minutes. We won't get, fully into the subject, but we want folks to know that these issues are connected. These issues are not separate. And especially if you feel like this is new, then I would encourage you to join, because it's a starting point towards more of that anti-racism work that we encourage you to do and that we will be doing as an organization. It's about support. You can click right on this and get some languaging right now in terms of some basic things that are supportive for survivors. If you are a loved one or ally tuning in, I always feel like it's not that people don't want to say the right thing, it's that they don't know what to say or they're afraid they're going to make a mistake. And again, I've certainly been there, and I'm there many places in my life, but we feel like modeling some language can be helpful to people in terms of start trying and starting. And so there's some content there. We're hoping to add more. And then It's About Presence will be an opportunity to try some mindfulness by Nate Ewert. Nate, if I mispronounce your last name and you're on the call, I apologize. But Nate is going to be teaching us some about that practice, and I believe is going to be sharing some other downloadable resources for us. And then at the end of the month, on the 30th, we will be coming back together and celebrating, hopefully, this month that we've shared together. So definitely want you to tune into that. And I think a couple more points from me and I'm going to turn it over. Oh, so together, our goal is 150,000 healing minutes. And that is in honor of the 1 in 5 adults who've experienced sexual abuse as children. And we'd like to raise 15,000 to support survivor services. Doing the math, we'd love to hit 150 participants in the Race for Healing. And I think the last time I checked, we're getting close to halfway there. So if you feel comfortable, we'd love to invite you we'd love to encourage you to invite 1 to 5 friends, just in honor of the 1 in 5 adults. But I also want to say that that is completely your choice. And again, we've given you some things to think about in that, in case it is helpful. This is something we've done for our Speak Out event, where survivors share their stories. And because we've heard from survivors, I'd really like to invite people to that event, but I don't know how, and I don't know what to say. And so we just provided some resourcing that may be helpful. And you can certainly make it your own. And I'm not going to read through these, but they're on our frequently asked questions page under new to this issue, need tips to talk about the event. And that includes how to invite people, or just how to say that this issue is important to you. And if you're on the receiving end of that and someone invites you and you feel overwhelmed because you've never thought about that issue, and you can tell it's important, but you don't know if you want to engage or not, we tried to walk through some scenarios for you to help you message that. Because we believe that survivors and supporters and everyone deserve information and choice in this. And if we can provide some information to empower people to make choices that feel right for them at the time, then that is a place from which we can move forward. And then in terms of what to expect in terms of self-care, we've lined out some of the basic things that we're offering for that. But what I wanted to say is, if you're a survivor who's new to this issue and it feels like a lot to engage in any type of effort like this that is a little more visible, then you can do that anonymously if you want to, and you can try how that feels for you. And you don't have to be public about your participation. You don't have to invite anyone. It might be, meaningful to you to just participate in a way that's comfortable for you, or to try it. And if you don't like it, you're always welcome to back out. We just encourage that. We prioritize everyone's feelings about that. And again, if you're in maybe a different phase of healing where it might be a goal for you that you want to speak out more about this, then certainly your participation or the way you promote it might be different. And again, we honor however you choose to show up in that. Want to mention that we have scholarships for survivors and loved ones, thanks to Lisa Levin Apple, in honor of Marilyn Vandiver Atler. So that's available to everyone, survivors and loved ones who may need help with that registration cost. And there's a fundraising component, and certainly this issue needs so many more resources. So if you feel comfortable raising funds, that would be wonderful. It's certainly not required. And really, we wanted to provide connection and community and awareness around this issue, and to try this new concept and to be part of a month-long effort where we're all engaged in this together with this intention around this issue. So if you sign up and track your minutes, that would be wonderful. And if you don't, after hearing the end of this call, we thank you for tuning in and listening and considering and making the choice that feels right to you. With that, if you have questions about anything I just mentioned, if you can type those into the Q&A, and I will get back to those towards the end. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dustan.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jenny. So I will take this moment to plug the It's About Healing session that's coming up in a couple of weeks, and say that we do have a ton of information that we want to share with all of you about our thoughts on healing, whether it's tangible skills that we think affect that, but also the emotional and the spiritual transformation component of healing from CSA. So I really encourage all of you just to stop by that session and hear what Gina and I have to want to share with all of you about that. And it really connects with what we're about to talk about in terms of intention and setting intention. We're obviously going to focus on setting intention for this Race for Healing, but we certainly want to encourage everyone to use intention to help the healing in your life or in other areas of your life as well. So I really like to start with a little bit of an analogy to show the importance of intention setting. So a simple analogy that I like to think about is going on vacation, right? If you were to go and get in your car without knowing where you wanted to go on vacation, how would that look? Right? You get in your car, you start driving. When you come to turns, you will choose at random which way to turn. And you may end up eventually someplace that's really great, or you may end up someplace that you really don't want to be. And I think it's really important to remember that our life is the same way. And oftentimes we can go through life feeling like we're a passenger. But once we start incorporating intention into the things that we're doing, making intentional decisions about where we want to be so that we can then make intentional decisions about how to get there, right? Just as if we're driving. That's really where we want to be to effectively move towards healing from CSA, but it's really how everyone as a human being, how we should be trying to approach life. So we really encourage you to think through intention setting in your own life and to use it to find direction and also to find the truth about the power that you have to determine your own direction. Okay. So I want to draw your attention for a moment to this intention setting worksheet that you will find shared in the link below. Julie will place it there, but then it's also posted on the activity, the race activity page that Jenny was just showing us, where you can sign up for the different events. So please take a look at this. If you have it now, feel free to pull it out. I'm not going to go through all of the questions, but please take a look at it, fill out your thoughts, either on this or a separate sheet of paper as I'm talking. And hopefully we can get you to a place by the end of this where you feel comfortable with your intentions for the rest of the month and how you want to move forward. Okay. So I think the first thing that I want to say about setting intentions is that there's really a lot that goes into this. And it's not as simple always as just picking an intention, right? To say, I want to do, 50 miles of walking or running this month. We want to make sure that our intentions are both reasonable and reachable, but also we want to make sure that our intentions are meaningful to us and who we want to be, right? We want to make sure that even for something like this, that our intention matches the goals that we have personally for ourselves. And I think that's really where we want to expand on this idea of intentionality for the Race for Healing. To us, the Race for Healing is much bigger than just this one event or these few events. Right? It's really about bringing awareness to what's going on in our society, to helping all of us be able to navigate what's going on and to actually be able to move forward in our lives and to feel purposeful in the way that we're doing that. So when I think about that, I really start in the place of gratitude. It's really easy when you're thinking about setting intentions to immediately go to, right, all those negative emotions, right? All the things that we regret not having done, the things we feel hopeless about being able to impact, or maybe even personal feelings of guilt or shame in what we have or haven't done. But I think that is very paralyzing, right? If we find ourselves stuck in that place. So I think it's really best to start with thinking about, what are we grateful for, right? And when we're thinking about what we're grateful for, are there feelings within that you want more of? Are there experiences that you want to have more frequently? So instead of, right, thinking about all the things we don't have, let's think about the moments where we feel we have the most. And what are those things? And can we get more of those in our life? And that really brings us into thinking about our own values and what's important to us. Values are something that's very interesting because our values are the area of our greatest strength and purpose. But if we're not careful, we can find that our area of greatest value is also the area of our greatest weakness. And we find that when we're not getting our needs met in certain values, that we struggle the most in those times. And if we don't know what those values are, it can be very confusing. So I think it's important to take a moment now to think about, what have you been doing when you felt the most fulfilled or happy in your life? But then let's talk about that, right? That form of weakness in our values. And think about the opposite. When have you found yourself in the most conflict? And what was it about? What was the topic of that conflict? And when we really dive deep into that, we start to see that it might have been something around something that was very important to us, something that we value greatly. And those are things that we need to recognize and have intentionality around. So maybe this month, right, is a way to connect more to the things you value, or even identify more about what's important to yourself. Because we really need to start there so that we can answer this question. Why are we here today? Kickoff event for the Race for Healing. Why do we want to stand for survivors of childhood sexual abuse? Or maybe even, what do we want others to have that maybe we have, or that we're also still searching for? And how can I help that during this month? So when we really think about that, I want to give a moment to let some of those questions and exploration or reflections sink in. Because the next step is for all of you to really think about those things, to pick, let's say, 1 to 3 intentions for yourself this month. We hope that they're connected to survivors of CSA in some way, but we also hope that they're meaningful and fulfilling for you. And so that by the end, right, you feel that you've accomplished something for yourself and maybe for the larger whole. So what I would encourage is that if you have any questions about intention setting as I've laid it out, please put those questions in the Q&A and we'll definitely answer them. We're going to have Melissa joining us here in a few moments to talk about the Race platform more and how to use it. But first, we want to show you some examples of how you might choose to participate or set intentions for this, right? So some people might be trying to accomplish a personal goal or getting minutes or miles completed. And for some people, it might be about increasing awareness for what it's really like to live through CSA and to try to heal. All of those are great intentions. So we hope that this following video can really help solidify this for you and help you to an intention. Thank you, everyone.
Hi everyone, my name is Alexi Neal. I'm a yoga therapist. I'll be guiding the It's About Embodiment practices this month. My intention is to complete about 1,000 hours of self-care and community engagement with you all, because for me the Wings Race for Healing is all about community. I stand with CSA survivors because I believe in the beauty in each one of our hearts and the amazing transformation that can be achieved through our individual healing processes. Sending love to you all, and I look forward to engaging with you soon.
Hi, I'm Nate Ewert with Somatic Synergies, Integrated Bodywork and Healing. For me, the Race for Healing is about taking ownership over your healing journey and doing the things necessary to heal those parts of yourself to thrive. I plan on trying to hit 1,000 minutes of participation this month, and I plan to do that with daily meditation, yoga exercise, hiking and rock climbing, and a 5K run somewhere in the middle. I stand with CSA survivors because I too am a survivor, and I know how powerful this work can be to thrive in your life.
Hi, I'm Marty Kovner. For me, the Race for Healing is about getting together with a bunch of friends from all around the country and just doing some fun things for a good cause. And my plan for this month is to run as many minutes as I possibly can, and also do some of the activities that Wings is supporting around mindfulness and self-care, because that's so important. And the reason that I stand with CSA survivors is because this issue has impacted my family and so many of the people that I love dearly. And I care about all of them and all of you and want us all to thrive. So let's have some fun.
I love that, and I think it really identifies some different ways that people can get involved, as Dustin was alluding to. And so before I walk us through the how-to of what participating might look like and all of the technology logistics, we did have a question come in that I would like to answer first. We have someone who's asking, what really is the Race for Healing? I've never heard of it and I don't really understand. And so I want to just come back, because we do understand that this year with our pivot, and especially for folks who haven't heard of it before, it can be a little confusing. As Jenny noted, it started as a 5K and as an opportunity to raise awareness about an issue that was very seldom talked about, and became an opportunity for people to also come together in community and raise their voices and stand with CSA survivors. And for the last 5 years, that's what it's been. It's been a 5K. We've had partners come. We've had some other fun events going on, and tried to really make it more than just an exercise, a community exercise type of thing. But as Jenny mentioned, the intention behind the Race for Healing is so much more than a 5K. It's about community. It's about togetherness. It's about standing for this issue, inviting people into it, learning and healing. And so this year, when we had to look at what does it mean to hold the Race for Healing in a time of physical distancing and virtual opportunities, we knew that it wasn't going to be a virtual 5K like some other organizations are able to do. That's not what we were trying to accomplish. The Race for Healing is so much more than that. And so that's why we're coming together in this virtual space for a month-long series of events that can accomplish some of those same things that we were trying to do with our in-person 5K event. And so we certainly hope that whether you choose to register or whether you do things on your own, that you are able to learn about this issue, to share it with others if you choose to do so, to find some healing and self-care practices, and to be together with others in community, even if we are in this virtual space. So I'm going to go ahead and turn to the platform now and walk you through what that could look like. Okay, so here is our virtual platform. You may be familiar with this. A little bit of information you can share with people or read if you haven't already about what our minutes and fundraising and distance goals look like. What you're gonna do if you haven't already is you're gonna want to come here and register, or there's a couple of different buttons you can go to. What you do when you go through the registration process is it will ask you to set your goals. It's going to have some that are standard, but you can change those once you get in. So your minutes goal will be there, your miles goals. Even though if you go running or walking tonight, you're going to have minutes and miles. It's not double counting. We don't consider that at all. We want you to count all of it because it's all standing for CSA survivors. You can register for $20 if you don't want a t-shirt, or $30 if you do want a t-shirt. If finances are an issue for you, please do apply for a scholarship. As Jenny mentioned, those are available thanks to Lisa Levin-Apple and in honor of Marilyn Vanderburg. And so we want to be able to make those available and not let finances be a barrier for anyone. So being able to do that, and then you will get information about how to register for a cost that's a little more appropriate for you. After that, you will have an option to make an additional donation if you choose to or not. And you'll move to the next page where you can add your profile picture, you can We ask for your address and phone number, which is entirely for the platform. It's not going to be made public, and you can change all of this information later once you're in the platform. You'll do payment information on page 3, confirmation on page 4, and then after that are a couple more things that are all available in the platform, and I'll walk you through in just a moment. But during that registration process, you can set your fundraising goal, you can have some language for inviting people and do that invitation process through the registration. You'll have the opportunity to join or create a team. If you join a team, a list will come down of all the teams that are already there. So if you're looking for one, you'll find it there. Be able to invite other people to donate. If you think there's someone who maybe isn't able to or wouldn't be interested in participating in the entire race, but it might be a cause that's important to them, you can invite them to donate and to support the work that we do. And invite people to join as well with that language piece. So then when you finish the registration process, it is going to come back to that screen. So I'm going to go back to sharing and log in with my normal thing. So when you come in, you might be on this dashboard, and if you do, you can just come here to My Campaigns and go to Wings Race for Healing. When this comes up, you'll see the chat that Jenny mentioned is here, and so you can go up through this. See if there's anything exciting that people have mentioned, if there's some self-care activities or something like that. Just a great way to engage within the platform with other people. And I'm going to walk you through this corner here, which is where you can find all of the information within the platform. So we have our individual leaderboard. Everyone who's registered is here, and there's a point system that the platform gives to the different miles and fundraising and minutes. You can change this if you want to really break it down by a certain thing that you're looking for, but everyone will be listed here. You can see some people use their pictures. There are others, we've got someone here named Sunflower. I don't know if that's their real name or not, but again, you can use whatever name you want, whether it's your real name, whether it's another name, there's opportunity for anonymity. If you are on a team, there's also a team leaderboard, so you can come here and see the different teams that exist. You can click on one and go through and see how is this team doing on their distance goal and their fundraising goal. Unfortunately, the minute goals are not on these pages, but they are still collectively there. And at the bottom, who's on this team and how are each of these people doing as they work toward their goals. So that's a really wonderful resource if you're on a team. Inviting participants. So there is some language that is down here that is all ready to go for you if you want to put in the people you want to invite and go ahead and send that. However, you can also personalize this. You can get rid of all of it and add your own message, or you can add little pieces here and there that work for you. So then you can also track those people as well that you've invited into the space. You can also invite donors, kind of the same concept. You've got a message here and you can put them in. That's one way you can do it. We'll talk about another way you can invite donors here in a few minutes as well. So again, all these things that come up during registration, if you haven't registered already, don't feel pressured because you can come back and do them at any time. So then each person, once you're registered, you're going to have a fundraiser page. And so this is my fundraiser page. I use my real name, but I don't use a picture of myself. So that's another way that people can choose to remain anonymous. And so I can come in here and see, where am I on my goals? Here's my appeal language. I have someone donate. So that shows that. And as you saw, that donor was able to remain anonymous too. You can choose to have your name or you can remain anonymous. And then if I go down here, I don't have any minutes or miles yet, but you can see that I've set my miles goal and my minutes goal, and that people can come here to my fundraising page and see how I'm doing on my goals. So how did I change these, you might ask? Well, if we go back over here to our settings, right under my fundraiser is edit fundraiser. And so I can come in here, change my fundraising, my miles goal, and my minute goal. And if I want to change my fundraising appeal and have a particular message for people about why I would like them to donate to this cause, it's all right here, as well as the ability to change my profile picture. So that's really easy. So I'm not on a team yet. If I was on a team, then this would be a little different. It would say, I believe I would go to my team here if I was on one, but I'm not on one. So I can come here and I can see what teams already exist. Maybe I want to join one. I'm going to go ahead and join Team Wings. And so now when I go here, it should say, go to a team. So there it is. There's my team. So I can go now see what's Team Wings, which we looked at earlier, and I'll be listed here. I could switch teams if I change my mind and want to be on a different one, or I could create a whole new team and I could be the captain of that and share it. And if I change my mind and I want to go back, again, I would go to switch team, and then I would change it back to individual. And at that point, then I'm no longer on a team. So you're not going to be held to any particular team once you get on one, but unfortunately, you can only be in one team at a time. All right. So the big question, how do I track my time, my miles for this event? You would go down there as you saw me, go to activities and workouts, and you would add your activity. This is how you can do it manually. We will talk about being able to add your miles with a device here in just a moment. But you go here to activity, you can see all of the options, how you want to track your distance, whether it is miles, steps, or kilometers, you have that option. And then of course, all of our learning, self-care, and movement, and then any other minutes, anything you consider to be self-care, we want you to count it this month. So we have an other, so you can put things in there if you don't quite know where they fit or if they're a little different. And we know that distance does not include all of the movement activities that exist too. So we wanted to be able to make some time for that and allow you to track both your miles and your minutes. So you would come in here, if you do change it from a fitness goal to one of these other ones, it will change this below. A moment ago it said miles, now it says minutes. You'd put your time in there or your distance, track the date, and then submit it. And easy peasy, there it is. If you don't want to be doing all of this though, and you would prefer to maybe stick to something that doesn't have you have to do all of this manual stuff. Unfortunately for the minutes, you have to do it manually, but for your distance, you can hook up a device. So whether you have one of these, Fitbit, Garmin, Strava, any of these other devices, you can come here and you can connect it and it will track all of your distance starting today through the 30th. And also, if you have registered, you'll receive an email that has a link to the Charity Footprints app. So if you don't have a fitness device, but you would like to have that same tracking done, then you can download the app and you have options to turn that on and it will track your information. You will see that when I came to this page, we lost our little corner menu. So just so you know how to get back, I can either go to my dashboard, which takes me back here that you saw earlier, or I can go back to that My Campaigns, which takes me to the Wings Race for Healing page in particular. So I'm going to go back down here. And the last thing we're going to look at before I briefly move over to the Wings website is the settings. This one's really important. I can also change my profile picture here. You can see I took out my last name. I changed my first name for how it appears. This is the Wings address, but I do have the ability to change this, so you can edit this after you register as well. And then your other personal information, and you can change your password. So just know that this is here, and if you do want that anonymity that you have to kind of give up when you register, no, you can take it back when you come here into the profile settings. So once you register, as I mentioned, you will get a confirmation email. It is going to have that app link. It's going to bring you to the Wings website, which I'm going to take you to right now. So this is our public page. As Jenny scrolled through earlier, you saw that there were some signups, but mostly there were things that weren't. You get that confirmation email, you will get a link to a page that looks a lot like this, although every single one of these is going to have a sign up link. So just know that that's available to you. This is also another great thing to share with people. You can invite them through the platform as we just looked at, or you can copy this link and you can send it to them so that they can have all of this information with the different activities and things like that. Plus, there's some great things here for people who are wanting to learn more about it with our race FAQs, which you saw earlier when Jenny shared, and then our learning and healing resources. I'm going to go here for just a moment because as we mentioned, we are hosting several events throughout the month, different kinds of learning experiences and healing activities. And we're hoping that those will all be valuable to you. But we also, as we mentioned, know that healing happens in so many different ways for different people. And we want to make this available to you every day, no matter how that looks for you, whatever you choose to do. And so you may have some practices already in place. As we mentioned, maybe you're a hiker or a runner or do yoga, or maybe cooking is healing to you. Maybe when you take 10 minutes at the end of the day to just be still and breathe, or you pick up that book before you go to bed. Any of these things, if you're learning about this topic or if you're doing self-care and healing, all of these things count. So we wanted to provide you some resource ideas in case you're looking for some new things you can engage in, or you want some ideas. So we have a whole list of things here: online videos, films, and documentaries, some informational websites, including CSA prevention and anti-racism work, a bunch of podcasts, some self-care apps. I think most of them are free. Some of them have small payments or subscriptions, but worth exploring. And then we have our miscellaneous and music section, which I think is a lot of fun. Just some different things that might be interesting. So we encourage you to explore these resources, to let us know if we're missing anything, put it in the chat, share with us some other fun things that we might add to this and share with other people. And certainly do what feels good to you for the month and whatever that might be. And then we hope that you choose to explore this in your way and to register for the month. But even if you don't, we hope you take these ideas in healing and are still standing with us as we go through this month and expand it into something very exciting. So if there's any questions, I know I just went through a whole lot, please put those questions in the Q&A. We will be answering those, whether it's for me or for someone else who was with us earlier. And we'll kind of wrap up today by just making sure that you have everything you need to join us if you choose to, or to feel like you can get off the call getting what you were hoping for.
Thank you, Melissa. There was a question about getting back to the dashboard, and I wonder if folks, maybe you can make the distinction between the Charity Footprints platform and how they register through the platform, and then the difference between the list of activities on the website and what happens once someone registers versus what they see now.
Absolutely. All right, let me share again for just a moment. So this is the dashboard. This is for any kind of Charity Footprints. If you've used it before, if you use it again, you'll have this dashboard. Under my campaigns, you'd have multiple things listed. I'm only in the Race for Healing 2020, so that's all I have here. But sometimes you may find yourself on this page, and we've had a little confusion about, oh no, where did the Wings event go? It's here. And so this is within the larger Charity Footprint dashboard and the other events you can participate in when you're here. But what I did personally is I saved this to my, oh, and now I lost it. Well, I'm doing terrible at this, but I bookmarked it to my page so that I would be able to find it again and not be going back and forth between those two pages, because it can be a little bit confusing. But just know if you end up on the one, you can still find our page just by going to my campaigns.
Thank you. And on our main page under events, there's the Race for Healing tab, and that has the button to register for the platform Melissa just showed, and then that list of activities. And again, the ones that will be available to everyone, this kickoff event, this September 22nd on health equity and the roots of power and intersections of oppression and CSA survivors. Everything else, to have access to all of it, just register for the race, and then you will get a link to the site that has all the Zoom information. And if it's a virtual offering, then you have to register for that Zoom, that particular session. And then once the session's over, I mean, if you want to attend live, once it's over, we'll post as quickly as we can the recorded version. So I hope that's clear. And then just watching the time, we only have 5 minutes. So there was one other question about, is this only for Colorado? Absolutely not. We just wanted to be clear that we are an organization that's here in Colorado, and that a lot of our in-person, well, all of our in-person services are really here in Colorado, but we have a lot of virtual offerings, and anything that we put out that's educational, we hope everyone will access it. And again, if you're a survivor in other states and other countries, we do welcome you to call us. We do our best to find referrals in your community. It's sometimes hard for us to tell if they're adult survivor specific. That's why we're doing the other work in terms of trying to think through some trainings for providers and other resourcing to make that clear for survivors that they can get what they need when they go to a provider. But definitely Wings, we want to be here for survivors in other places. We just want to be true to some of the things that we can only offer here in terms of our services. But for the Race for Healing, it's virtual. So it's open to anyone, anywhere. If we can make it happen through technology, I will not say that we won't have some hiccups to work through, but we'll do our best. Melissa's email is listed as a point of contact. You can also connect with us at wings@wingsfound.org. Let's see, what else did I want to mention about that? Oh, I want to name something really quickly before we run out of time. For myself and for this call, I even feel like we've certainly been focusing on the resilience aspect and the post-traumatic growth aspect, perhaps, of this issue. And yet we know for many survivors, this is not a place that they're in yet. And it is very important to trust yourself in this process and to be wherever you are. And we certainly acknowledge, again, there are so many survivors for whom this is not something that may resonate or not a place they're at yet. And we just so honor that. We know that. I think our biggest intention is what came out clearly in the data from the One Voice Project is the word doomed. Survivors felt uniquely doomed because of having been sexually abused as a child. They felt alone, and they felt like no one was even talking about this issue. And I think what we're trying to do as some starting steps for us is to make this an issue that isn't just on the shoulders of survivors, that we can invite people into this conversation as loved ones, as allies. And I can tell you, after 12 years of being in this work, going into my 8th year at Wings and the 4 prior to that, which really included my own healing, it's really hard to get people to engage in this issue. So I think we're trying to find the places where healing from childhood sexual abuse has such wisdom in it in terms of, you know, healing the mind, body, spirit connection that gets impacted by trauma. That's a human process. It's actually, resiliency is something that all of us have access to. And so if we can focus on that and help people understand that in a bit more of a mainstream way, then can we keep building other parts of a broader movement that really takes all of us? Because we know this issue intersects with prevention. That's why we want to promote and we want to mention. If you're here in Colorado, Illuminate Colorado has a specific effort they're doing through the website tipcolorado.org, and they're offering Darkness to Light Stewards of Children training, and they're doing some specific things in Colorado. So we just encourage you to go there. And if you're outside of Colorado, go to d2l.org for Darkness to Light's website, and we'd love for you to take a prevention training that they offer and count those minutes, because for a lot of survivors, that's a place that they really want to engage in. And I think we're trying to offer some things along the healing continuum that might be new and or might be something that you would feel comfortable inviting other people into. And again, just to name, there's so much more to this issue. And if anything, again, the Race for Healing as a aspiration and as a broader, movement is really just to create the day where everyone who's been impacted by this has the resources they need to speak, to heal, and to thrive in comprehensive, culturally responsive, ways. So again, it's a huge vision and it's going to take a long time. This is one step, we hope, that would be meaningful for folks during this virtual year. I have 1 minute, so I'm sorry, but I wanted to make sure that those points got across. We'd love for you, if you're outside of Colorado, to participate.
And we'd love for you on the call to participate. If you haven't registered already, remember there are scholarships. We do not want finances to ever be a barrier for someone to be able to take part in the work that we do. And please feel, if you are in a place where you feel you can invite people or would like that language, would love to help walk you through that if you don't find what you need on the website. We will be sending weekly emails. We hope you're getting those as someone who has registered. And if you haven't, you will get them if you register. Those will also have sign-up links. So we're having that information in a lot of different places because we want to be accessible. But if you come across any questions, have any issues, we know the technology can be a little confusing. Please do reach out. We're here to help you in any way we can, and we hope you join us for this month.
We do, and again, you can join at any time, and I hope if you do join that you'll be back with us on the 30th, and let's see how it was. How, you know, we're going to be talking about how did the intentions go, and what have you noticed, or what do you notice throughout the month, and what questions do you still have? And we do have a thing through our support groups, which I do want to say is such a helpful, I think, program for folks, but victory checks. They are for those times when we achieve something that we haven't achieved before. And sometimes healing can feel like 2 steps forward and 1 or 2 steps back. And over time, we are building resilience. So if you want to notice and look for those victory checks throughout the month, we would encourage you to do that. If you want to share them in the chat line on the platform or on social media, you're welcome to. We definitely want people to participate privately if that's what you want, or participate publicly if that feels important and meaningful to you. If any other questions do not get asked, again, Melissa's email that has been put forward, or the wings@wingsfound.org. Really appreciate all of you. Really wish you a meaningful month, whether or not you get engaged with us or not. And really just acknowledge there's a lot of complicated issues to look at in the world. And I hope we do all move forward with intention towards the ones that are meaningful for us and for you. So thanks for standing with survivors, and I hope you will continue to stand with us. Have a great rest of the day.